7B, the board consider approving the district's instructional materials recommendations for the 2024-2025 school year. May I have a motion?
I move that we consider this. I would like to have some discussion and propose an amendment.
We'll have to get a motion approved first before we can have discussion.
So I move that we.
Correct, Marty?
If you would like to have some discussion, I think Dr. Blassingame is saying she wanted to amend some of the materials for consideration. I don't think she was saying, because you're saying you have to have a motion before you can amend it. I think she's saying she wants to make a motion that amends approval of some of the items.
Okay. So go ahead and make your motion to amend those things and just discuss, tell us what your amendment is, please. I think it's in front of us if you don't want to read it. Is that correct?
My amendment, right?
Correct.
Yes. For item 7B, I move that the board approve the posted instructional materials in 7B for the 2024-25 school year with the following revisions. There are 25 books total, and we thank the committee that worked on it, but these are 6. We'd like to see a little bit of accept them, but with these revisions. Biology by Savas Learning Company. We would like to approve, I'd like to propose we approve it with investigations 13 and 16 omitted. The TEKS taught in that to be rewritten by our local school team. In environmental science by Cengage Learning, approved with chapters 5 and 7 omitted. For Earth Systems by Cengage Learning, approved with chapters 2, 6, and 21 omitted. In Principles of Education and Training by Goodhart Wilcox Company, approved with chapters 7, 12, 15, and 18 omitted. And for Health Science Theory Clinicals by Cengage Learning, approved with chapters 8 and 10 omitted.
May I get a second?
Second.
Are there any questions this time?
Yes. I am not clear on why one board member chose to override the recommendations of our highly trained educators who selected these materials for next school year that have been approved by the State Board of Education. I do not support this amendment. We should go back to the original motion, which is to accept the instructional materials as approved by the educators who reviewed the materials, who are experts in these fields of biology, environmental science, earth systems, principles of education, training, and health science theory.
Linda, do we have to adopt materials from the State Board of Ed recommendations, or can we just write our own, not approve these and write our own curriculum?
We do not have to adopt the materials from the State Board of Education. We do have to, if we write our own curriculum or anything else that we use, we do have to share with TEA that all of the texts have been covered.
And that's an option that we have through the other item that's on this agenda that would be the instructional materials approval process, correct? That we moved to 7B last week?
That is correct.
So I'm not asking for us to employ that. I'm asking us for it to accept the books with slight revisions. That would be, so that would be that would mean that the educators here would have a textbook rather than not have a textbook that's approved. So can you talk to me a little bit about that process of how we do that in curriculum? Have we done that before, where we write curriculum at the district level? Is that a common exercise?
Well, typically the board would adopt the resources, and then those are the resources that we would use to write our curriculum. That's typically what we do. So in this instance, with your recommendation, then we would, like for example, biology, chapter 13 and 16, we would look at the texts that are covered in there, and then we would have to embed the text into the curriculum that we're writing from the book. If that makes any sense.
Can I make a reminder? We are literally in the process of reducing our curriculum and instruction staff. At the same time, we're recommending that they do additional work. So I think we need to be considerate of that. We also need to be considerate of the timing. We are in May. The teachers we've already delayed this 1 month so that 2 people could look at the books. So we don't have, I question whether we have the time to go through this process and delay it again. Again, I recommend that we adopt and accept the instructional materials as approved by the expert educators within CFISD.
Scott. Dr. Blasingame, I think it might help a little bit. Can you go into a little bit of the actual recommended omissions, the reasons behind them, so we can get a little bit of understanding of what we're wanting to omit and why?
There are concerns that were expressed across the state and in the district, and in, for example, let's see. In biology would be an example. In chapter 12, it discusses vaccines, and it discusses polio and all those. And investigation 13 is an extension of that, which goes into discussing a much more detail around a lot of COVID discussion, a lot of focused on health in that topic, which is just an extension. It's not required TEKS. That's an example of something in the biology textbook. And let's see, in Earth systems, an example is topics of depopulation and an agenda out of United Nations. In environmental science, there's a lot around depopulation and also, a perspective that humans are bad. And so those are the areas that could be rewritten. And is that enough example for you?
It is. So it seems to me that the thought process behind that, there are some controversial subjects in some of these textbooks that might not be suitable, that we may want to reevaluate. But it goes, Dr. Macias, Trustee Henneman brought up a point. Walk us through a little bit of what it would take for us to, if we were to omit some of these sections as some of the trustees are interested in doing. What are the steps we would have to do to add that instructional element, and how would we go about evaluating it? How would we go about creating it to add those instructional elements that may be omitted in this motion?
So as I said, we would, for example, from the biology textbook, we would be taking that textbook and we would be basically writing our curriculum. We typically do a very thorough curriculum writing aspect when we do curriculum. As Ms. Heineman said, we have quite a few less staff to do that. So we are going to have to probably rely more on the campuses or those teachers to go through some of their materials. But what we would have to do is write the curriculum from the resource, and then these chapters that are omitted and the texts that have to be covered, because there are texts for all of this. The texts that are covered, because I think some of it is climate change, if I remember correctly, Natalie, climate change and vaccines, for example. We had already tagged the chapter on vaccines, and it was not something that we were doing a deep instruction on. Actually, I believe we weren't even covering it because it hasn't been tested on EOCs. And so it's very limited what we would do there. So we had already planned to do a very slim teaching of that, but it would require taking those texts and then writing curriculum, and we would have to find something else to use to be able to write the curriculum, probably our current textbook that we have, and just pull from there and then write the curriculum from there. And Dr. Blasingame knows it takes time to develop and write curriculum.
So it looks like out of 25 books, there's 13 chapters where we're looking for some revisions.
Can we approve it without the revisions and then turn this off after the fact? Is that possible? These chapters that are controversial?
So we have visited with the companies regarding the online versions. Savas allows us to turn everything off from the district level. The other ones have to be turned off from the campus or teacher level. And then we are going to be asking them to see if they can figure out a way to give us access at the district level. But right now, we can turn off chapters from the district level for Savas, basically any chapter. And for the others, we can turn off the chapters, but from the campus level.
So would that be any different than what Ms. Blassingame Dr. Blassingame is actually offering? We can go ahead and approve these books based on SBOE approval and the changes that were requested from SBOE on these publishers. Once that actually takes place, then we can actually order these books. Is that what you're saying?
But I don't think that's what Dr. Blassingame is saying. The edits the edits that were requested from the State Board of Education, those edits are already there actually with the online version. With the textbooks, they will be there once those books are purchased and delivered. So I believe, if I understood Dr. Blessing correctly, she's asking that once we receive the materials with the edits from the State Board of Education, that we remove these chapters. Is that correct, Natalie? Yeah.
That's correct.
Question, Dr. Macias. Were the books that we reviewed or had the opportunity to review, were those books the books that had the edits from the State Board of Education already within them?
Not the books, but the online version did.
Okay, so if we wanted to have seen those, we would have had to look at the online version, not the physical book.
That is correct.
Got it. So as an example, in my understanding is one of the textbooks had the topic of depopulation. And that's an interesting idea that I am not personally aware of whether or not that's in the online version or not, or whether or not that's been a requested edit.
It is.
It's in the online version?
Yes, these comments and revisions are based on deep dive into the online curriculum that we were all given access to. Because we serve in the Academic Safety, Vision, and Planning Committee, we committed large amounts of time in order to go in and read and look for those things. So, and current information as of this week and today.
I can't support anything teaching our kids about depopulation. I'm 100% in agreement with Dr. Blassingame.
More questions? Look at your mic's on.
I have questions. No.
Any other questions or comments? We do have a motion. We do have a second. If there's no more questions, we'll go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor of the amended motion, please signify by raising your right hand. I'm sorry, against? Apologize. Thank you.